have our ladies retreat. Our ladies retreat is October 21st. If you are a lady and you're wanting to go on this ladies retreat, I encourage you to go because this is an opportunity for you to grow closer together with people in the congregation. If you feel like you don't have any friends, if you feel kind of like you're alone and you're a lady, well, what better way for you to make friends? What better way for you to grow closer to God than going on the ladies retreat, right? All right, so that's October 21st. If you have any questions about the ladies retreat, you can talk to, I think it's Kristen. I think Kristen's over it. You can talk to her and get with her. I think there's a sign-up sheet out there, so I want to encourage you to sign up for that if you're interested in going. A couple more highlights that I think need to be highlighted. BYOP, bring your own pumpkin. If you have a child who's in kindergarten through 12th grade, I want to encourage you to bring them to BYOP. Bring your own pumpkin. It's a pumpkin carving / pumpkin painting. It starts at 5:30, October the 25th. October 25th. That is a Wednesday at 5:30. There will be food. There will be drinks. There will be pumpkin carving supplies and pumpkin painting supplies. So all you have to do is bring a pumpkin. Now, if you don't want to share your supplies with anyone, then bring your own supplies. The supplies that I will be providing are probably really cheap supplies. So if you want some like really pumpkin carving utensils, I would bring your own. But I would encourage you guys, if you have children, bring them to that. Me and Megan try to carve pumpkins every year. We didn't last year. It was really a mistake. I felt like I missed something last year, so we're gonna do it this year. But it's something fun, especially to do with your kids. I remember when I was young. Yes, I did Boy Scouts. I know. Do I look like a Boy Scouts? No, I did it for like 2 years and I quit. But I did Boy Scouts, and then while I was Boy Scouts, we did a pumpkin carving thing with my family, and it was awesome. To this day, I still remember carving a pumpkin with my mom and my dad. So it's a great family thing to do. And then at 7 o'clock, we're asking all kindergarten through 12th grade to have a bonfire diva with us out in the refuge. Last announcement I'm going to give to you guys, then I promise you I'll be done giving announcements for the class period. We'll dive into the lesson. Last one, well, there's many more, and you guys can look at it, but the one I want to highlight is Trunk or Treat, October 28th. Trunk or Treat is October 28th. By a show of hands, how many of you know what Trunk or Treat is? Awesome. So we have a majority of everyone here knows what Trunk or Treat is. But some hands didn't go up, so I'm assuming that there are some people who do not know what Trunk or Treat is. Well, on October 28th at 5 o'clock, I think it's when we're starting, right, Mary Lou, 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock, it's in the bulletin about Trunk or Treat. 5 o'clock is starting, so what we're asking and what it is all about is it's creating an environment for people to trick or treat, a safe environment for kids to go and trick or treat. And so what we'll do is everyone will bring their vehicles, decorate their vehicles if you want to. If you don't want to decorate your vehicle, that's fine. Sit out near your vehicle, have bags of candy, and people in the community will come and they will trick or treat at your vehicle. That's why we call it Trunk or Treat. So we're kind of doing name play there. And then also with the chili cook-off at 5 o'clock, we're all starting our chili cook-off. So if you think that you can make a mean pot of chili, sign up. There's a sign-up sheet back there for the chili cook-off, and we'll see if you make a mean pot of chili or not. Because we'll have 3 judges to eat your chili and try it and see who the winner is. And so we're doing that. It's a great outreach for our community, and I want to encourage you to come, participate, and be a part of it. If that means you just make chili for the chili cook-off, that's fine. Because what we'll do is people from the community will come in and they'll also eat some of the food that we have. We're having chili and hot dogs. So it's a great way for us to get to know the community, to get to know them more, to show them who God really is and what we stand for as Christians. And so I want to encourage you to be a part of that because it is a very great thing. If you have not been to Trunk or Treat, you're missing out because it is a fun thing to do for your kids and it's fun just watching kids. I don't know. It's fun watching kids, dress up and run around trying to get candy. It's really cute, so you should come out to that and be a part of it to see that. That's all the announcements that highlights Is there anything that I missed that I need to highlight before we start class? No? No? Okay. Before I get started, I always like to open up a class with a prayer. Are there any prayer requests? Anyone that we need to specifically remember for class? Yes. Sorry. Roy Bilbrey? Roy Bilbrey. Anyone else? Connie. Anyone else? She'd have a shoulder surgery. Anyone else? All right, well, let's go to our God in prayer. If you don't mind, let's bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this wonderful day that you've given to us. We're so thankful for the weather, for the fall weather. God, we ask you to please just keep all of us safe. God, we're so please be with all those who are traveling back home from fall break. We ask you to please just keep them safe. God, we ask you to please just be with us as Christians as we're about to open up the Bible and study your word. Please open up our hearts. Please let us be able to be open-minded and willing to learn and grow closer to you. God, we ask you, we come before you as your humble servants, praying for a few of those who are sick, for those who have lost loved ones. God, we ask a special prayer for Roy Bilbrey as he had heart surgery. God, we ask you to please just be with him and be with that family and just put your healing hand over them. God, we also ask you to please be with Connie as she's about to have surgery. Please be with her. Please strengthen her and let the surgery go well, and please be with that family. God, there are many more people who need your prayers. We ask you to please just reach out to them and heal them and be with them. Thank you for all the many blessings. In Jesus' name, amen. So, since we started the quarter, in our youth class, we have been doing a study of the book of Jeremiah. So, if you want to go ahead and open your Bibles to the book of Jeremiah, that's where we're going to be. I figured since I'm teaching this class and our youth's going to be in here, it's good for us just to kind of continue our youth class. But before I kind of jump into today's passage, I'm going to catch you guys up kind of real quickly on how and on what we've learned so far in the youth class. But we've been looking and studying different accounts of Jeremiah's life as a prophet, and we've been trying to apply them to our lives. You know, it's important for us to understand that yes, Jeremiah is not writing to us specifically. He is writing to the Israelites, God's chosen people. But as Christians, followers of God, we can relate to how the Israelites are acting. We act very similarly, to the Israelites, and because of that, the book of Jeremiah is talking to us indirectly. You know, over the past couple weeks, we have looked at how God demands respect. In our youth class, we looked at how God demands respect. We looked at chapter 2 of Jeremiah, verses 7 through 13. We also looked at how no one is perfect, and God understands that. And we looked at Jeremiah, chapter 3, verses 11 through 18, and chapter 6, 13 through 17. And we also looked at the question, who is God? Because Jeremiah talks about who God is in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 2 through 16. And this morning, we're going to be looking at the struggles of a prophet, the struggles of Christianity, as I would like to title this lesson. And we're going to be looking at Jeremiah chapter 12, verses 1 through 12. Excuse me, 1 through 6, not 1 through 12. So if you want to turn there, let's go ahead and turn there. But before we kind of get started, I want to catch you guys up on what's going on in Jeremiah's life. Jeremiah was called by God to be a prophet. And kind of just like, it really seems like a common theme with among men who are called by God to be prophets. They just don't their first reaction is, no, I don't want to be a prophet. And that was Jeremiah. Jeremiah just did not, he struggled with wanting to be a prophet, but eventually he got in his mind, he said, yes, I'm going to be a prophet. And so he decided, he became a prophet of God, and he started prophesying for God, which means God was speaking to him, and so he was speaking words of God. God would tell him what to say, and then he would go out and he would say these words. Now, Jeremiah was hated. If you read the story of Jeremiah, no Israelite liked Jeremiah. He was hated by everybody. And when I mean hated, I mean hated. People wanted him dead. They wanted to kill him. His family, people who he loved growing up, wanted him dead. They hated him. The noblemen, the rich people, wanted him dead. The poor people, the people who, had no money, the people who had no names, that they were really low on the totem pole, they hated Jeremiah. The Israelites, most of them thought of him as a traitor. And they wanted to see him dead because they felt like he betrayed the Israelites. And he betrayed God. So no one liked Jeremiah. Jeremiah's life is really sad. It's really the stories. If you read the book of Jeremiah and you hear the accounts of Jeremiah, you start to feel bad for Jeremiah. While I was doing a study during this book, I personally started feeling bad for Jeremiah because of people not liking him. They would literally talk and conspire, try to kill him. And eventually, Jeremiah would actually be murdered by the Israelites, by his own people. Would actually eventually, whenever his life came to an end, he was killed by his own people. We see Jeremiah was called to do things that no man really that has been called to do. God asked Jeremiah to do a lot of things. God asked Jeremiah to say things that really people did not like to hear. And that's what caused people not to like Jeremiah. But that's kind of where we are. Jeremiah is kind of figuring out here in chapter 11, verses kind of 18 through the end of 11. Jeremiah is kind of finding out that people don't like him. It says, I'm just going to read a short bit of it because we're going to read a little bit more later on. But verse 18 says, "Then the Lord told me about the plots of my enemies were making against me." Well, that doesn't sound really good, does it? People were making plots. His enemies were making plots against him. In verse 19 it says, "I was like a lamb being led to the slaughter. I had no idea that they were planning to kill me." Wow. Right? And so Jeremiah, he's finding out that no one likes him. He's finding out that people were plotting to kill him, and he had no idea people were plotting to kill him. And he's finding that out for the first time. So that's where we are in Jeremiah chapter 12, verses 1 through 6. So far in the book of Jeremiah, God has been speaking through Jeremiah to the people of Israel. He was prophesying to Israel. And Israel was not wanting to hear it. We talked a couple of weeks in our youth class how the people of Israel, Jeremiah went to the people of Israel, speaking through God, by God. He was telling how they need to repent, how they need to turn their lives around, how they need to follow God. And the people of Israel said, "No, I don't want to follow God. I want to do it my way. It's my way or the highway." That's how the Israelites felt. They felt like they didn't need God during this time. And see, the Israelites, they really struggled with a couple things. And they had one main thing that they struggled with. They had really struggled with idolatry. They really had a hard time with it. They could not get away from it. They liked worshiping their idols. They liked worshiping false gods. They would make these idols, and they would worship them. They would get craftsmen, people from faraway lands to come in to make them an idol. They would bring in tailors to come in and to dress their idol. I mean, how crazy is that, right? But you know what's even crazier? Yes, we can relate to that. That's even crazier. Idols back then compared to today are completely different things. Our idols are things that we put in front of God. right? That's basically what idolatry is. Idolatry is you putting something else above God. You saying this is better than God. You know, even though that thing can't speak, even though that thing can't do anything, you'd rather do or worship this one thing than worship God. That's what idolatry really is. And see, today we can relate to the Israelites because we struggle with idolatry today. And I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I struggle with idolatry today. You know, probably my main thing is, you know, I have friends from college that I like to hang out with. I have friends from college I like to play video games with. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, I'll play video games with my friends whenever I should be reading the Bible, or whenever I should be praying to God. You know, so a lot of times I have my idols, and everyone in this room, we have our very own idols, things that we like to do and put over God. And you see, that is the main lesson that we need to learn from the Israelites. Because of their sins, the Israelites never really found out why they were being punished, but it was because they were not following God. And so we can look at that, read the accounts of the Israelites, and learn from it. And hopefully that's what we do. You see, here the prophet wrote in first person. Here starting in chapter 12, Jeremiah wrote in first person, kind of for the first time. He is now talking to God. He's asking God questions, and he's trying to get to the bottom of this. And you see that this is nothing new. Jeremiah seemed to always struggle with being a prophet. You see, throughout this book, his struggles found vivid expression in the passages often called the Confessions of Jeremiah. And I want us to look at a few of them. And if I don't mind calling on readers, I like to get the audience, the class involved whenever doing a Bible study. So if I can have a few volunteers to read some passages for me. If I can get someone to read Jeremiah chapter 15, verses 10 and 11. Can I get a volunteer to do that for me? Thank you. 10 and 11, just whenever you have it. Yes.
Last my mother, that you gave me birth, a man with whom the whole land strives and contends. I have neither lent nor borrowed, yet everyone curses me. The Lord said, surely I will deliver you for a good purpose. Surely I will make your enemies pleased with you in times of disaster, in times of distress.
So we see here, Jeremiah is asking God that question, saying, you know, what sorrow is mine? My mother, oh, that I had died at birth. I am hated everywhere I go. I am neither a lender who threatens to foreclose, nor a borrower who refuses to pay. Yet they all curse me. That's what my version says. But he's saying, why? Why all these people hate me? What have I done? I'm not a lender who threatens to foreclose, or I'm not a lender who threatens to kill someone. Why do these people hate me so much? So he's struggling with being a prophet. He's struggling with understanding that people are not liking him. If I can get another reader to read chapter 15, verses 15 through 21. 15 through 21. Verses 15 through 21 of chapter 15. Can I get one more reader? Thank you so much. Yes. All right, so again, we see here that Jeremiah is struggling with being a prophet. He starts asking God questions. He's saying, why then does my suffering continue? Why am I still suffering? Why is my wound so incurable? He's struggling here with being a prophet. There's one more verse that I want to look at, but I'll read it because it's kind of a lengthy one. It's Jeremiah, going back to Jeremiah chapter 12. Jeremiah chapter 11, starting in Jeremiah 11, 18 through chapter 12, verse 6. So just bear with me as I read this. Then the Lord told me about the plots my enemies were making against me. I was like a lamb being led to the slaughter. I had no idea that they were planning to kill me. Let's destroy this man and all of his words, they said. Let's cut him down so his name will be forgotten forever. O Lord of heaven's armies, you make righteous judgments and you examine the deepest thoughts and secrets. Let me see your vengeance against them, for I have committed my cause to you. This is what the Lord says about the men of Ananoth who wanted me dead. They had said, we will kill you if you do not stop prophesying in the Lord's name. So this is what the Lord of heaven's army says about them. I will punish them. Their young men will die in battle, and their boys and girls will starve to death. No one of these plotters from Ananoth will survive, for I will bring disaster upon them when their time of punishment comes. Chapter 12, verse 1 says, Lord, you always give me justice when I bring a case before you. So let me bring you this complaint. Why are the wicked so prosperous? Why are the evil people so happy? You have planted them, and they have taken root and prospered. Your name is on their lips, but you are far from their hearts. But as for me, Lord, you know my heart. You see me and test my thoughts. Drag these people away like sheep to be butchered. Set them aside to be slaughtered. How long must this land mourn? Even the grass in the fields have withered. The wild animals and birds have disappeared because of the evil in the land. For the people have said, the Lord doesn't see what's ahead for us. Verse 5, if racing against mere men makes you tired, how will you race against horses? If you stumble and fall on open ground, what will you do in the thickets near the Jordan? Even your brothers, members of your own family, have turned against you. They plot and raise complaints against you. Do not trust them, no matter how pleasantly they speak. So here we kind of get a bigger picture for Jeremiah. Jeremiah is struggling with the thought of being a prophet. He just does not understand why people are hating on him, why people just don't like him. And he struggles with that thought. And he struggles with that thought throughout the book of Jeremiah. You know, and so, you know, in a way, I can understand why Jeremiah thinks like this. And I think most of us can understand that too, because think about it for a second with me. Jeremiah, right? He in a way, he didn't want to be a prophet. But eventually he said, yes, I'm going to be a prophet, because he probably remembered whenever he was a young child. And whenever you were a young child, do you remember hearing awesome stories about people in your family? I remember growing up, my grandfather, he would always tell us how he was part Cherokee. Now, that was a lie, but he always made jokes about it and would tell these stories about how he was part Cherokee. And it was really ridiculous stories, but it was one funny story. I'm going off topic here. I'm going to do it anyway. My older sister, had to write a paper for class. And I can't remember what the chief's name was. Do you remember this, Megan? But she knew that she had to write about being Cherokee, something like that. And so she goes to my grandfather and says, Papa, please tell me, about your lineage and the Cherokee lineage. Tell me how it all came about. And so he's told her a story about this chief so-and-so. I can't remember the chief's name of what he said. My sister would know. He goes on and she writes this really awesome paper. She's writing it. She turns it in. She says, I'm going to make 100 on this paper because this is an awesome story. a chief that you don't really hear about, but, in history books. But my grandfather knew this chief, and, this is an awesome story. Well, she gets the paper back, and she gets like a 60 on it because on the like big words on the front of the paper, it says, that there is no chief named so-and-so. And so she goes back to my grandfather, and apparently this story was just like completely made up. It was all false. There was no truth to the story, and my sister was really upset, but I mean, it was what it is. But as kids, we grew up learning about stories about our families. And so there are stories that we have heard, and maybe there's a story that you can recall and you remember, and you're like, yes, I want to be just like that. Maybe you remember your dad, or like, as a man, growing up as a boy, I really wanted to be like my dad. And so my, stories that I heard from my mom about my dad, I really wanted to be like that. And so, I would really like take these stories to heart, really listen to these stories. And so this is kind of what I can picture for Jeremiah. Jeremiah grew up hearing stories of prophets. I mean, prophets who were before him, because Israelites were all in turmoil. They were either for God or against God, and they're always up and down pattern. They could not just be for God and that be it. They were always either or. They were never, always. They were always both. And so there were always prophets during this time. And I can imagine him being like, these prophets, they didn't struggle at all. There was nothing going on. Because, whenever you hear stories, a lot of times you hear all the good stuff. You don't hear all the, the hard times that they went through. You only hear about the story. I can picture him recalling the story of Elijah, right? And Elijah and all the great things that he did, but then he probably didn't really hear the story parts about everything that he went through, behind closed doors. And so Jeremiah here is probably thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a prophet because, all these amazing things have been going on. Oh, all these prophets of these stories that I've heard, they have incredible things happened to them. They spoke to God. God gave them blessings. Job went through some hard times, but man, God blessed him afterwards. God gave him so much. He was a rich man. Maybe God will make me a rich man because I'm going to be his prophet. So I can imagine that all this is going through Jeremiah's mind at the time, but for some reason it's not happening for him, right? People are trying to kill him. No one likes him. His family's turned against him, and Jeremiah's like, why? Why is this happening to me? And so Jeremiah here in our text, he's asking God that question that we all ask, at some point in our lives. And that's why I like this text, because he asked the question. He says, why are the wicked so prosperous? Man, how many Christians have asked that question in their lifetime, right? How many non-Christians have asked that question and not become a Christian because of that question? Why do the wicked prosper while the good, harm comes to them? Right? There's a study, it's called The Problem of Evil. And it's a real thing. It's basically... It's a thought, a theory for atheists who believe that there is no God, because why would God allow so much evil in this world? A God who is all loving, a God who is all powerful, a God who is all knowing. Why would he create evil in this world? It's called the problem of evil. And see, Jeremiah is asking this exact same question. Why? Why is there evil in this world? Why are the wicked, the evil ones, prospering? Why? And then he asks another question. Why are the evil people happy? I mean, if they're evil, if bad things are happening to them, if they're bad people, why are they happy? Here I am, God, listening to you, doing what you tell me to do, and bad things are happening to me, but for them, good things are happening to them. Man, this is a question that we ask ourselves all the time. We ask God all the time. maybe not out loud, maybe in private, maybe in our minds, we think, we hear of all these bad things happening in our world, right? The shooting at that small church in, I can't remember the town it was in, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Why? Why would God allow a man to bring a gun into a church building and shoot Christians? Right? And now, so why? We don't have the answer to that. Jeremiah is looking for the answer, just like we are looking for the answer. God gives him an answer, but it's not an answer that really answers the question. In a way it does. But then he goes on and he says, you have planted them, you have made them, and they have taken root and prospered. Your name is on their lips, but you are far from their hearts. But as for me, Lord, you know my heart. You see me and test my thoughts. Drag these people away like sheep to be butchered and set them aside to be slaughtered. Jeremiah was very kind of harsh a little bit sometimes. He wanted to see some of these people dead because they wanted him dead. So that's kind of why for that last part. But he's asking God, why? Why, God? And we ask ourselves that exact same question. You see, the questions he put to God are as old as the human family and as new as this afternoon's visit to the doctor, right? Whether they have been bold enough to give voice to complaints or not, many Christians can identify with Jeremiah. In the recesses of their hearts, believers sometimes struggle. I have lived a decent life, the believer may cry out. I work hard, I love my family, and I am a worker in the church. God, why do you allow this to happen to me? Why am I suffering when I can see an abundance of irresponsible, unfaithful, evil men with flushed cheeks and bulging bank accounts? Jeremiah was plagued with this question, such as these, just like we are. I don't have an answer for that question. I'm 24 years old. I'm still studying. But God does give Jeremiah an answer, and I want us to look at that answer real quickly. But before we get to that answer, I do want to say this. That, yes, there are evil people out there. Yes, we struggle with that thought. Yes, as Christians, it's one of those things that is really tough for us. But that's why I believe God sent us Jeremiah. God sent us Jeremiah today so that we can look at his life, we can remember his accounts, learn from his accounts, and we can grow from that. Real quick, I know, my timer's up there. I have 2 minutes left. Whew. All right. God responded to Jeremiah with a dose of reality, as some would say. In effect, God said, Jeremiah, you have not begun to know what is in store for you. Basically, God is telling Jeremiah, being his follower, being his prophet is not easy. Let's look at what God says real quick. Verse 5 and 6. I just want to read that for you. God's response goes through verse 13, but I'm just going to read 2 verses. If you want to read the rest, I encourage you to do so. But this is what the God says in response to Jeremiah and what he said and his question. If racing against mere men makes you tired, how will you race against horses? That's what my verse says. If you stumble and fall on open ground, what will you do in the thickets near the Jordan? Even your brothers, members of your own family, have turned against you. They plot and raise complaints against you. Do not trust them, no matter how pleasantly they speak. All right. So far, God's response in 2 verses. God is telling Jeremiah that being his prophet, being a Christian, being a follower of God is not easy. He's saying, Jeremiah, you think this is hard right now, what you're going through? You just wait. I know what's in store for your life. I know what's going to happen to you later on in your life. And this is nothing compared to that. If you can't handle this, Jeremiah, how can you handle what's to come? How can you handle what's going to happen to you in the future? You see, as Christians, and in all honesty, this is a really good answer for us too, right? We think, man, I have it all made. I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of God. I'm going to go to heaven. Nothing's going to happen to me. For some reason, we get that thought in our mind as Christians. I get that thought in my mind as a Christian. I'm a Christian. God is always with me. Because growing up, we've been taught God is with us at all times. Yes, that is true. But things happen to us. Sin is in our lives. Sin. And that's what hurts us. And God says, and God talking to Jeremiah, he's also talking to us indirectly. He's saying, you don't have it all right now. Being a Christian, being a follower of me is not going to be easy. No one said it was going to be easy. Whenever you go and you tell someone that they're sinning, I just want to ask you guys a question real quick. In my conclusion, I have 3 seconds. In my conclusion, do you like being told you're a sinner? Do you like being told if you continue sinning that you're going to go to hell? Do you like hearing that stuff? It's a safe bet that everyone in this auditorium, their answer is no. You do not like being told that if you keep down the path that you're going to go to hell. You see, that's what really kind of scares people away from the church in a way. But you see, as Christians, we have a fight ahead of us. Some of you are maybe nearing the end of your fight. See, the story of Jeremiah, in conclusion, Jeremiah's life is mainly really for us to see that Christianity is not easy. Being a follower of God is not easy. Being a spokesman for God is not easy. That as Christians, yes, hard times may come to us, come in our lives, but we need to look to Jeremiah and understand that we have our life ahead of us and that we do not live for this world, we live for heaven. That's what Jeremiah teaches us. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it.